Has it ever happened to you that one of your friends suddenly has a completely horrible idea? But somehow he thinks it's a masterful idea, and you know that idea is, well, horrible. But you see him so excited. You see his eyes shine. So much that you almost feel sorry, to be honest. Like the Wario Man. Because if you tell him it's okay, Cholera sounds ugly, and you think, well, maybe he's not doing so bad. And when he does, things happen like a million times worse. Even to what your pessimism was pointing at. Well, the Sonyverse, to call it that, is that. Sony's second Spider-Man trilogy wasn't going as planned, so they let Marvel take creative control of the character. But they recalled that if they didn't produce a Spider-Man universe film every 5 years, they would lose the rights. So they thought, why don't we make a movie about Venom? People know and love him, and even without Spider-Man, the Venom movie made good money. And that's when Sony tried to push a super mega forced universe. It's the most forced cinematic universe in the damn industry of pure Spider-Man villains. Too bad no one informed them that Venom only succeeded because he was one of the most well-known and epic villains of the character. Ironically, because, also in part, he looks a bit like Spider-Man in a way. Then came the Venom sequels, Morbius arrived, Madame Web, and finally, Kraven the Hunter. The first movie in this universe that was going to have blood, and it was also the last because this whole universe went to hell. After they realized that they simply don't know how to handle Spider-Man or his characters. So, officially, the Sonyverse has been swept to such an extent that there are already rumors that they are planning to sell the character to Disney. But is Kraven's movie really that bad? Look, you know what? I'm going to speak directly with the powerful and successful Kraven, the Hunter, so he can tell me from his own hand. The cancellation of the thing related to the villains of Spider-Man is horrible. Hello, Kraven. Who are you? My name is Beals. I'm making a video about your recent movie, a smashing success on the level of Morbius, and I would like to ask you some questions. Sure, what? Questions? What will you do with Spider-Man if you run into him?
I won't catch him and take him to my lair. I won't make him suffer.
And how does the cancellation of the Spider-Man villains universe fit into your plan? Is Sony a mess?
It doesn't matter. I'm sticking with my plan to cover it up and make him suffer.
That's very Guido of you. Kraven, don't get angry.
I'm not getting angry. I'm very angry.
Forgive me. I will never call you Guido again. Kraven, it's like if they show you a baby and they say it's cute. If they told me that, I would kill it. But if you say it's okay, asshole, does it sound bad?
Yes, I know, but it doesn't matter. I would kill it.
Anyway. What, dude? The movie starts there, all without context, in a mother's prison, Russia. We have no fucking idea what's going on. But oh no? Look, it's the one that appears in all the movie posters. I wonder if it will be important later on. It turns out my buddy is Kraven, like the movie title, who is quite strong. And they show us this with this little scene of the bastard working out and beating up 2 prisoners, only to later be brought before a guy who seems to be very important. However, my buddy is not paying any attention to the guy in front of him. First, because he's speaking in Russian and he doesn't understand it. And second, because this bastard son of a bitch has stuffed animals there. And this is one of those things that most puzzled people when it was announced what the movie would be about. Well, as Sony was so determined to create movies about Spider-Man's villains without them being villains, but rather as a kind of strange anti-heroes, well, they all had a twist to make them those anti-heroes. Kraven's portrayal was peculiar considering his character and concept revolve around animal hunting. Because, well, he's a hunter and wants to hunt Spider-Man, who is, like, I don't know, the apex animal, apex predator, I don't know. But in this movie, they decided to give a twist to that concept, and now he is a hunter, but of people. Which complements moderately well with another thing this movie has, and that is the theme of blood. Because yes, it took them almost 6 years and 5 movies to realize that blood and violence could have helped these villains a lot. Since it was quite strange that they told us that Venom ate the heads of his victims. But the movie was like, here you go, a film for those over 13. As you'll see in the review, explicit violence doesn't add much. Sorry, Tablos. Kraven kills the seemingly important Russian and tries to escape from the prison, finding the essence useless for once. Here comes another major issue with the movie, particularly the character. And there's no problem in having a very broken character in your story, as long as you know how to handle it well and give it the right threats and conflicts. The issue with this movie, or rather the problem, is that you have a superhuman with extraordinary abilities, based on what suits the script, fighting against ordinary humans. While our protagonist won't die early in the movie, at least provide a small reason to create suspense. Because this whole prison escape sequence makes it clear to me that Kraven has superhuman speed and agility. He can scale walls and appears nearly bulletproof. And on top of that, in the middle of the escape, he comes across a snowstorm that could wreck any type of vehicle specialized for that weather. And my buddy runs into the storm and is like, well, who's hungry? In the end, my buddy manages to escape thanks to a plane that's being flown by someone whose importance is null, and he's already managed to flee. But it doesn't matter for now. Now, the title of the movie and a flashback almost 2 decades earlier. Turns out Kraven was a rich kid, son of Rochelle Crowe and brother of another kid. And hey, the choice of this actor as Kraven's father isn't bad. I mean, a lot of people complained because Aaron Tyler Johnson was someone too attractive to play such a scruffy, full of shit, unkempt, dirty, smelly character. As it was, Kraven and Russell Crowe himself in his Gladiator days wouldn't have been a bad choice for a character movie. Anyway, it turns out that the original Kraven was named Sir Gay Gay. And his father, whose name I'm not interested in, so I'll call him just like Russell, like the actor, he tells his son literally, "Son, your mom killed herself. Why? Because she was..."
Don't be weak, because you will become the greatest hunters in history. Let's go.
And it turns out they're going to hunt a kind of mystical, satanic lion from the weird devil who has eaten many humans. The gay's father appears fixated on hunting the mystical creature. Putting that aside, the protagonist only takes 3 steps. He is left completely alone with his brother, and that satanic, mystical lion from the devil appears. Being. His first instinct, obviously, is to point the gun at it. But when he looks into its eyes, it seems like there's something more within the intentions of this lion. He had intentions and affections of a reproductive nature, but unfortunately, his father discovered him. And the first thing he does, indeed, is to shoot the damn cat. And the latter bites the gay being in a horrible way to such an extent that any person would have died long ago. My buddy's doing great. Also, there's a girl who was watching some tarot card readings or something similar. Justo was strolling through La Sabana with his family, and he has a card that just so happens to be a lion, so he says, "No way, this card has a lion." It means that a lion must be eating a human right now. I must go save him. And indeed, he does that. Finding the lion with the body of the gay man on the ground, and the blood of said lion seems to be penetrating the boy's wounds. But to the aunt's surprise, the lion looks at him for a few seconds and leaves without eating the gay being. Therefore, this girl, named Calypso, what a shitty name, pulls out a strange liquid from who knows where and gives it to the gay being. He has strange visions as a result. Frankly, I don't know what this is about. At least they had the decency to say it was a strange, mystical, satanic lion from the devil and all that. I remember when the trailer came out. The number of memes that emerged after Kraven got powers from being bitten by a lion was impressive. The meme that 10 thing bites a human being and turns you into that thing? Well, it had finally become reality. How much I wish a millionaire would bite me. In the end, they take my buddy away in a helicopter and declare him dead. But thanks to the mystical powers he received, he's revived and recovers in the hospital, holding onto the letter from Leon that Calypso gave him before being airlifted. Until his father arrives, disappointed because his son couldn't handle a simple bite. Fucking failure of a son. Glass generation. How can you not withstand a giant lion trying to chew you in half? So they go back home. And the father says to the gay being, "Look, son, fear is for pussies. So that you don't have any more fear, I made you this." He shows him the head of the mystical, satanic, devilish lion hanging on his wall. I was initially shocked, but then found it quite amusing. Like, no, this mystical, indomitable lion and all that. And 10 minutes later, well, it's already there as a trophy, you know? So the gay person gets angry and leaves the house. He had a Bachir moment from the boys where his brother begged him not to leave him with their unhinged father. Instead of trying to reason with his brother to reassure him he's not being abandoned, which doesn't happen in that series. Here the guy literally tells him, "I have to go." Why? Just because? But don't worry, I'll be back. It's okay. He approaches a ship with containers. Being gay and relaxed, he asks a worker, "Hey man, can I get on?" The worker agrees. So like my buddy, he moves to the middle of the forest, developing his weird skills. Until out of nowhere, he hears in the distance a couple of hunters killing animals, and that's how he claims his first 2 victims. Then we'll return to the present. My buddy takes out some rhino hunters, but lets one escape. However, he follows him to the big city and kills him in his own office. How is he capable of this? Yes. Later, my friend reunites with Calypso and returns the letter she gave him over a decade ago. How was he able to find her after so long? Well, as he himself says,
He is a hunter and his job is to hunt people.
wow, that's deep. Then they start talking and talking. And I know he tells Calypso that he killed a guy who did a lot of harm to someone important to her. The last one is like, hey, killing is wrong, but he deserved it. It really makes me laugh. Is that damn Sergey? He tells her his name is Kraven now, but he just tells her and that's it. He tells her nothing, not why, the meaning behind it, when he changed it, or anything at all. My name is Kraven, and you will address me as such. From now on, I want to be called Lord Alcohol, Beer, Coffee. Yes, these are things I have on the table. What's the matter? Anyway, he has a list of targets he wants to kill, and Alexei shows up. Or Alexei, I don't know. This individual with a backpack accompanied Sergei and his father on the hunt where Sergei was bitten by the lion, who seems to be worried in case that supposed hunter has him on the list. So he's going to do some shady business with random people. And the plot twist is revealed to us. This bastard is Rhino, but unlike Amazing Spider-Man 2, where Rhino was an armor, here my buddy, literally, has to disconnect a tube that connects him to his backpack to start transforming into Rhino. Well, okay. We then find out that Russell and his son, Sergei's brother named Dmitri, are still together. But the old man seems disappointed with his son as they literally ambushed him with bullets. Despite surviving an attempt on his life orchestrated by them, Russell curses at Dmitri. Because look at you. They shoot me at point-blank range, and you, instead of defending your father and fighting, you hide like a bitch. Why didn't you stop the bullets with your teeth? Well, it turns out that Sergei infiltrates his brother's apartment because the latter is having a birthday and he wanted to spend time with him. They dress up and go to dinner. Notably, Dmitri can perfectly mimic others' voices. A nod to his character in the comics being a chameleon who can mimic others. What do I know? Bullshit that would matter to someone if the Sonyverse hadn't died? On second thought, Russell's belittling of his son is very annoying. But the amount of scams you can do with your son, who can perfectly mimic any voice, is epic. Why is the first thing I think of when I see someone who can mimic voices is crime and stealing? Buddy, life is very tough. It turns out Dmitri was kidnapped by random guys and Kraven sees them taking him away from the top of a building. Kraven jumps off the building on what seemed like an ordinary Thursday. He chases the kidnapper's car to a helicopter and stops the helicopter with his bare hands. He clings to the helicopter, battered by the water and steel headlights until it eventually flees. This scene shows that having a broken character in an ordinary world, as I mentioned earlier, may be counterproductive. If you witness this scene, you can't help but wonder how they could possibly defeat Kraven, given that he has already proven himself to be an indestructible killing machine. In the end, Kraven confronts his father about Dmitri's kidnapping, and the latter shows him that they cut off a finger and sent it as a threat, asking for $20 million. Russell refuses to pay the ransom, not because he doesn't love his son, but because it would make him appear weak. I mean, he literally said, paying is for wimps. Plus, the jerk says that his son should already be dead, since if he were to kidnap someone, that's how he would do it. This guy's a piece of shit. So Kraven leaves there, tracks down his brother, but it turns out, oh, it was a trap. And boom, a bazooka and goodbye. But since my buddy is practically indestructible, not even a bazooka shot could kill him. While on the other hand, Dmitri was really kidnapped by Alexei, who reveals to the latter that his little brother was a deranged hunter who killed criminals. Stretching Miraway's speech, you and I are weak. But ever since I ingested rhinoceros semen, I am now stronger. Since I eat a rhinoceros dick a day, I feel better. So I will overthrow your father, and I want you admired so that you rule with me as the pair of underestimated that we are. Can we eat rhinoceros dick together? But then a random character appears who has been appearing since the second half of the movie, who, according to Wikipedia, is called The Stranger. And the only interesting thing is that the bastard moves fast, and his boss was killed by Kraven. Now he wants revenge and found a flower that could kill him. Meanwhile, Calypso and Kraven are at the latter's home, the lands, which belonged to his late mother. And my buddy has been trying for years to recreate that strange potion. Calypso gave him the item years ago to save him from death unsuccessfully, but that can be discussed later. Because Rhino came to try to hunt Kraven. And all of this is very strange because the character, that foreigner, appears out of fucking nowhere. They paint him as a super overpowered kid. He manages to shoot Kraven with that poison I mentioned before, causing him hallucinations. Which, by the way, are pretty cool with all those spiders falling from the sky. It would be cooler if there was a real Spider-Man connection and not just a hallucination, but it's okay. And in the end, the damn foreigner manages to take down Kraven and is about to shoot him. But Calypso, out of nowhere, shoots an arrow in his head, killing him instantly. He literally arrives, becomes the protagonist, gets confident, and is swept away. The inclusion of this character seems unnecessary alongside Rhino. Why introduce them at all? Alexei withdraws with Dmitri, as he believes the foreigner killed Kraven, but the latter appears with a herd of buffaloes ready to attack. So when Alexei finally decides to stop fucking around and transform into... What is that computer-generated imagery? Forgive me for everything, Rhino Mecha from Amazing Spider-Man 2. Oh my god, kill that thing. In the end, these two fight. Rhino says,
Look at my impenetrable skin from pure swallowing Rhino's dick.
and Kraven goes and pierces him through his only weak point. He had a hole on his side where he injected the serum that prevented the transformation. It's not like it was the anus. In this way, Rhino is weakened and finally crushed by the herd of buffaloes. Dmitri then tries to shoot him, forgetting he has bulletproof skin. And Kraven tells him, My man, you're good. Don't fall on the dark side. You have to be an anti-hero, attractive, and powerful. So he doesn't shoot him. But Reno reveals that the person who told him that Sergei was the hunter killing criminals was none other than his own father. Which doesn't surprise me at all, because this guy is a piece of shit, and sooner or later, he was going to mess things up. Whom he confronts in the middle of the forest. Well, imagine that he confronts you in the middle of the forest. And they talk, and Kraven tells him, I could have killed you, but I didn't because you are my dad. Immediately after, he removes all the bullets from his weapons and lets his father be devoured by a bear. He removes the bullets from a shotgun and happens to grab that unloaded gun. A year later, they celebrate Dimitri's birthday again, but it turns out badly. With Reno and his father deceased, Dmitri turned corrupt and evil. In addition, he went with the same scientist who created Reno and became what he is in the comics. This bald, white abomination that can transform into anyone. The chameleon. Kraven tells Dmitri he can't allow him to do that. Dmitri reminds Kraven that he has also killed people and points out what their father left for him. So Kraven goes home, finds a letter from his father telling him they will always be hunters, revealing a special suit that his father made for him. His classic comic suit made out of skins. And my buddy puts it on and sits in front of a mirror thinking, damn, how attractive and sensual I am. The animal skin suit he's wearing totally undermines my character's original motivation, but I'll disregard that. But I look handsome in this lion's skin. And that's how Kraven the Hunter ends. I hope to see this character in many movies. They've canceled the universe, forget it. Poor Aaron Taylor Johnson. First Kick-Ass 3 was canceled. Then his Quicksilver character in Marvel was killed off. And now this? Well, guys, that's how the Sonyverse ended. A cinematic universe of Spider-Man villains without Spider-Man, which lasted too long, was more than anyone could have imagined. Honestly, the force they put into this thing was cosmic. Should they have given up earlier like the Conquered guys did? If I'm being honest, I think, objectively, this could be the second best movie in this entire cinematic universe. It's crap. It's not like there's much competition. Venom 1 isn't bad, the 2 and 3, while they entertained me, are quite inferior. And as for Morbius and Madam Web, they are so unbearable. I would have loved to do a review on Morbius at the time, and it's Morbin time. It's time to get morbid. In the end, it's a shame that this movie will be remembered as the final nail in the coffin of the Sonyverse. But was it really your turn, Miho? It would have been better if it ended with something worse, like Morbius or Madame Web. But, well, at least we have the spectacular Spider-Man's Kraven. Now, that was a hunter. Anyway, below average movie. I give it an it's okay, it can entertain you more or less. Although I like the other movie better, this Christmas one with The Rock. The Code, Red Suit, or something like that.